Some time ago, I heard someone make a comment about being very envious of something that somebody else had. And at the time, I had a really strong reaction to it. I didn't say anything to that person, but I really thought, well, why can't they just be grateful for what they have? Why are they always wanting something that somebody else has? And I was kind of surprised by my reaction. And then, of course, a little while later, I realized, oh, maybe that's because I too have had envious thoughts about something totally different, but it was almost like I held a mirror up to myself and said, oh, maybe this is why it bothers me so much. And at that moment when I was upset at their reaction, it was almost like I had picked up a stone and was ready to throw it at the person. And this, of course, reminded me of the Bible story that we heard at the beginning of the talk. And I really love the way that it's told in the Bible because, as we heard, Jesus is sort of minding his own business, perhaps teaching to some of his followers and drawing in the sand when these Pharisees bring up the woman who they have caught in that act of adultery and wanting Jesus to condemn her, right? They wanted him to pass judgment on her and say that she deserved to be stoned because she broke that law. And I love the fact that he doesn't speak right away. He just kind of ponders it and leaves them to kind of think a little bit about what they're doing. And then when he does speak, it's so profound. He who is without sin casts the first stone. And this really just stopped them in their tracks. And, because who among us is without any sin, right? We're not perfect yet. We make a lot of mistakes. And luckily, these men, I guess, were wise enough to see that in themselves, and they didn't pursue it further and dropped their stones and left. And when we can think of this story, we can look within ourselves. Because if we're honest, there is within each of us that which is of the Pharisee, as well as that which is in Christ in the becoming. We might liken this to our lower selves, our lower nature, our personality selves, and then our soul nature. We talk about that a lot here at Questhaven. And if we think about those Pharisees, they were, back at the time of Jesus, a sect within the Jewish faith who were known for following strictly the laws of Moses and the oral traditions that they followed. And Jesus was often pointing out their hypocrisies that they would put out because, they weren't bad or evil people. They just were ones that put the law above everything else. And so therefore they didn't have compassion or mercy or love even for their fellow man. The most important thing was that law. And this behavior becomes very self-righteous if we're not careful.